Thank you. I saw a program on TV not too long ago. It seemed like I think it was on public television on the Falls. Beautiful area. You all come from a beautiful part of this country. Let me ask you a couple questions. You co-manage wildlife refuges. How does that work? Co-manage is a word that kind of, I don't know what it means. Who's in charge?
Great question. Is this on? Okay. Great question. So co-management, it is that we are co-managing together. So we have staff from Fish and Wildlife and staff from Jamestown in the same building at the Wildlife Refuge site. And we co-manage through biologists. So we have folks studying the animal life and the plant life, making sure that we're doing the right restoration efforts, management efforts, and then also the recreation impacts. So we work on those things together. But I would say that Jamestown takes the lead in public education, giving tours. We're the ones that have taken over the volunteer programs now, and they are the ones that help with education on site and providing just anything from like animal or plant life history. It could be even some tribal history so that folks know the land, because this refuge is actually on one of our graveyard sites. Mm-hmm. But signage, so educational signage, that was from the previous signage was from Fish and Wildlife, but we are taking it over and putting our own spin on it. And I would say that the overall care, now we are taking the lead. So that would be the best way that I would describe it is yes, we are partners and equal, but we are stepping forward to say we're taking more ownership of this because it's our land, and it makes sense that we would have that particular value system attached to it.
Do you ever run into differences of opinion on what ought to be done on something? And if you do, who makes the final decision?
That's a great question. Yes, we do. Yes, we do. Really, it comes down to Fish and Wildlife, if I'm speaking correctly. I could follow up on that question. But normally when we are wanting, like, for example, the signage project, it's Fish and Wildlife who is saying, okay, we're good with this, or here's our input. So I think ultimately there is some decision-making that still leans heavily on Fish and Wildlife, but they are needing to take our input into.
The reason I ask these questions on that is that there's a Camas Prairie Wildlife Refuge in Idaho, mm-hmm. and the state of Idaho has said they'd kind of like to take it over, or they'd like to get it from the federal government. And I've been kind of saying, well, the Shoalwater tribe, this is their traditional lands and stuff. Why not let them manage it? And they'd like to and stuff.
Yes.
So I think it'd be a great idea to give it the management of it to the Shoalbands.
I would definitely encourage any tribe
than the state of Idaho or the Fish and Wildlife Service. So.
Absolutely. If there's an opportunity for a tribe to co-manage, we would say yes. And if tribes or states want to come take a look at our model, we're happy to talk folks through that.
Good.
Yeah.
Dredging the marina. Where is that on the list of the Army Corps? I mean, they have a plan, of what they do and when they do it and stuff like that. I serve on the Energy and Water Subcommittee, too, and was chairman of that for a number of years. But where's the list? Where is it on the list of stuff? And where is it, the berm that you need repaired? Is that on a list somewhere that we...
Yeah, so the seawall, which the Army Corps has rebuilt 3 separate times since 2012. They've invested a considerable amount. This most recent investment was through the bipartisan infrastructure law, and it was $41 million that they invested back in 2022. That berm has been holding up very well, but there's a separate berm that's directly adjacent to Tokeland Road, which hasn't nearly got as much attention. From my understanding, there hasn't been any work on it done within my lifetime. And so we have had a large section of that berm which has failed. Army Corps came and assessed it about 3 weeks ago. They determined that they could do a temporary Band-Aid fix through emergency funds, but that a long-term fix through the 103L program could take 3 to 5 years. So on one hand, they're telling us this isn't, the next king tide could breach this, but you're going to have to wait 3 to 5 years for an actual fix. So I don't know where it's at on their priority list, but it is on their radar. Okay. And in terms of dredging, they've been dredging every year, but this last year, I'm not sure the exact why, but this last year they weren't able to secure a permit. I believe it had something to do with funding limitations. I can look more into that and get back to you.
Okay. It is getting things done sometimes through the Army Corps of Engineers. Some kind takes takes some time sometimes. What district is this in?
District 19, the 19th.
Okay. I'll check on it when we
Thank you.
do our funding for the Army Corps of Engineers and stuff.
I appreciate it.
Ms. Pingree?
Thank you all. Really lots of interesting testimony, and I appreciate having you all here. Chair Peters, hopefully we can help a little bit with the infrastructure. It sounds very good that you're doing that. Healthcare complex that would serve the whole region. We know when we've heard about that from other tribes, it's so beneficial in rural communities. So really seems like an important thing to be able to do. And I appreciate hearing from some of you and your tribe in particular, Chair Swanson, about the relocation efforts. I know we've heard about some of that before, and it's sort of fallen off our radar screen. You're the first group to really talk about that today, but I know with a lot of the Alaska tribes, that's really a pressing issue. I represent Maine, and so we have one tribe, the Passamaquoddy, that's already dealing with a couple of challenges to their sewer system and an elder care center. And so it's just a really big pressing issue that I think we need more focus on. And I was trying under the last administration to get them. I know you talked about the Terra Act. I'll make sure I look into that. But just sort of this comprehensive approach to it, because the idea of moving a community, which some have had to be moved in Alaska already, is obviously very expensive, but it requires a lot of coordination. So everything that you had to say about that was really helpful. And I think we have to push on that again, and maybe we can get some language into the appropriations bill that really specifies that that we have to have this more comprehensive approach on it, because it's out of our control and it's happening, and we can pretend it's not, but it is, and you're already in the middle of experiencing it. And Vice Chair Greninger. Yep. So we have a green crab problem too. If you solve it, let us know. People are always trying to cook it up and figure out some way, like maybe we can eat them out of here. But it's just there's an awful lot of them. They're just nasty little things. So we need to get rid of them. You want to get us talking about green crabs.
We're trying to be creative.
Yeah. But that money that you're looking for, the $3.9 million that you need to relocate your lab, were you asked by the department to rewrite your application and change some of the language in it, or what's been the holdup that you know of? I mean, we'd love to try to free that money, because it's terrible that it's already meant to be with you and it's not there.
I will follow up specifically from just the general understanding was an executive action and then the OMB memorandum that followed.
Okay, and so far as you know, it's just blocked. No one said
it's just blocked.
Just rewrite your application. Yeah. Okay, well, we can look into that and see if we can't free it up, because it's hard enough to get funds, but once they're already promised to you and they get stuck somewhere, that's just an outrage. And I'm sure you're increasing. The costs are increasing the longer you wait for it. And thank you very much for your testimony. Appreciate it. I don't know much about that question you brought up about the regulated airspace, but it certainly seems like a reasonable concern. It would be interesting if we did a little bit of work on that. And I, too, am worried about the endangerment, and so I appreciate hearing that from a tribe, because I think you are really thinking about the front lines of how this will impact all of us. And also worried about the Medicaid impact on all tribes, because we're going to experience some cuts at the end of the year, and so many of the Indian Health Service funding, pools come from Medicaid as well. And so if we see some cuts there, that's going to be a problem for everybody. So just really appreciate all the things you brought to us today, and thank you for coming all the way across the country.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Let me just say before you go, I agree with Representative Pingree. It is frustrating to all of us when we have appropriated funds that are held up by OMB. It is a challenge. I've had that happen in Idaho. Nez Perce had a fish hatchery, and they withheld half the funds. So what? You operate a fish hatchery for half a year? Right. It's just stupid. And we were able to free that up. But that's certainly something that I know the Appropriations Committee is working on and trying to address that issue. You, in your testimony, wanted money for the infrastructure.
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
Do you have if you get the infrastructure in place? Mm-hmm. What are the plans to build a facility?
Yeah, wonderful. We are putting together a capital stack for it. We've already got the drawings, everything in place, but it's going to be a mix of funding through some capital that we already have grown. We're working with our banks to get loans, and some grants. And so we have put the money together to build the health center. And just to note, there is a great success story at Jamestown. They're the ones who were the first ones, I think, that did this, and it's doing a wonderful job, and it's something that we're hoping to model, the work that Chairwoman Greninger and her chair, Ron Allen, did. So
Great. Yeah. And I'm going to get up and see the falls. Great. I really want to see it.
Let us know. We'll go ahead and make sure we have room for you.
I would think I would have spent a lot more time up on the peninsula because it's one of the beautiful parts of the country, but I'll get there.
And come see our Christmas
Maybe
lights.
we'll bring Okay, thank you all. I appreciate your testimony. Thanks for
so
being
much.
here today. You bet. Guy Capoeman, William Iyall, and Louie Ungaro. Is that right?
It's Capoeman.
It's what?
It's Capoeman. Yeah.
Capoeman. Okay.
Capoeman, there you go. No. That happens a lot, though.
I got the first names right though.
There you go. There you go. That's good.
Okay, Guy, you're first.